Joining me right now is Miranda Maverick. She'll be facing off against Brogan Sanchez in a flyweight bout at Invicta FC 30 on July 21st. How you doing, Miranda? Welcome to Kumite Radio.
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Let's get into it. Your last fight, it was incredible, versus Gabby Romero at Invicta FC 24. What are your thoughts when you look back at that performance?
I'm honestly pretty disappointed about that performance. Like, it went all 3 rounds, and as I'm sure you know, that's one of the only times I haven't finished my opponents, amateur or pro. And for me, that was a little bit disappointing because I went in there hesitant. I knew I could have done better, but the reason being she was so good at jiu-jitsu, and like I was intimidated by that a little bit, so I wanted to keep it standing and made sure that I stayed back. And so in terms of that, I was worried enough. It was like fighting a rattlesnake. I tried to stay away from her as much as I could instead of just going in and being more aggressive. Knowing what I know now, like that her takedowns were a little bit worse than I expected. And honestly, her jiu-jitsu wasn't as good as I had anticipated, but I acted so scared that I didn't do as good as I would now. Going back into that fight, I would just be way more aggressive and try to finish it fast because there was nothing for me to worry about as much as I thought I should.
Yeah, in the first round, she did go for a lot of submissions, and you escaped from them pretty easily, I believe. That's why in the second round you came out and you were. Did you feel more confident when you went into the second round? Because you went out there and you threw some hands hard.
Yeah, I was much more aggressive, and I don't throw hands that much in fights because it's so easy for me to take it to the ground and just go. But I had plenty of confidence in my hands and just decided to start letting it go more in the second round. In that first round, I ended with an arm bar. Not me ended with an arm bar, but she had an arm bar on me, and I should have never got caught in it. And although it looked like it was a close finish, like I never really felt a live threat. I felt I was safe, especially for the time I had left. So the second round, I tried to go in there a lot more aggressively.
One of the punches that you threw was an uppercut. Were you surprised that she survived that? Because it landed pretty solid.
I am surprised. It was my own fault, though. Like, I should have stayed back, kept distance a little bit more, and just kept going with my strikes. But I got overly eager and ran to her almost, did what she wanted to do, which was just grab a hold of me and hug me pretty much the whole fight. And I kind of knew that was her game plan, and I should have backed off more and just kept throwing strikes and teep kicks and things like that. Ooh,
It sounded like a bomb or something.
We have, like, fireworks that go on here sometimes.
So how much did you grow from that fight?
I think, twice as much as I usually do. Every fight I try to grow and be a better fighter in between them, and I train as hard as I can in between fights. And that one just kind of taught me that I do have striking and I need to use it a little bit more in fights, and showed me kind of the power that I have. Like, I train with mainly guys, and, my punches don't hurt them as bad as they do other flyweight girls, of course. And that kind of just showed me what I could do with my hands. So that was a good opportunity for me to let loose.
That fight was about a year ago. Did you have some injuries, or what were some reasons for the long layoff?
I did have an injury. I'm a person who loves fighting as often as I possibly can. As an amateur, I fought almost every month and a half. And as a pro, I was always bugging Shannon, like, I want to fight. She was like, just stay calm. Like, you're young. You'll get plenty of fights in. We're giving you the average or above average. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Trying to be patient. Like, I appreciate every opportunity she gives me. But I got an injury. I'm not really going to say what it was because I'd rather not for the sake of opponents knowing. But I ended up having an injury. I had to let it heal and get rehab and everything. And it ends up being almost a year now that I go back in and fight her. And I'm ready to be back. I've absolutely changed from that injury. I believe in God and use my faith as an excuse and a reason for why I do a lot of things. And I feel like that problem was put in my way for a reason, maybe to get my mind on track and make myself get better. I learned to fight orthodox a lot better. I've been working on my striking so much the past year. Like, I feel like I'm almost untouchable now. I don't see any girl at the flyweight division right now devastating me.
Your upcoming opponent, Brogan Sanchez, she debuted earlier this year. She got a split decision over Cherry Murawski. Did you watch the fight, and what did you think about her skill set?
I did watch the fight. I always research my opponents just enough to be aware of their weaknesses and strengths, but I mainly focus on my own strengths. To be honest, like, I respect all my opponents. I never underestimate them at all. I go into every fight thinking they're the scariest person on the planet so that I don't let my guard down and so that I put my best foot forward when I go in there. But from watching that fight, like, there was a lot of clinch work, and I know part of that was because Sherry wanted it to be that way. She was probably a little bit intimidated by Brogan's hands, considering her more affluent Muay Thai background that she stands with. But I wasn't really overly impressed. I didn't see anything that I need to really worry about. I feel like I'm a well-rounded fighter and can take this kind of wherever I want to. And I actually went up and trained with Sherry a few weeks ago, and I'm very confident about this fight.
On paper, many people will consider this a striker versus grappler. You probably know this. Would you agree that it's more than that?
For sure. The problem is it's because I use my grappling so often, but I mean, there's a reason I'm where I'm at. It's not just because of my ground game. I can hold my own on my feet too, which is what I tried to show in my Gabby Romero fight. It's just that I really haven't had to yet, like ground game is where I'm home. I don't see why I should change that game and go on the feet and get punched in the face at all or risk anything happening when I can just finish the fight fast on the ground. And if people don't realize how young I am and how much I've matured in between every single fight that I have and tried to get better. Like, I started this out as an 18-year-old. This fight's going to be right after I've turned 21. I'm not even at my peak yet, and I'm working on my striking every day. I'm working on my ground game every day. And I have some of the best strikers in my area within states of me that are coming in here, and I'm sparring with them. I'm sparring with guys that have been freaking Golden Glove champs like 4 times. And so I'm very confident in my hands and everywhere.
What particular asset do you possess you believe Sanchez will have a difficult time countering?
I honestly think she's not going to be ready for my explosiveness and my strength. And I get kind of frustrated when nobody puts the word skill with that as well. Like, even in my previous Invicta fights, I've kind of complained. I'm like, would you please quit saying that the only reason I won was because of my strength? But it is true. Like, girls just are not used to the pure strength that I have. Like, I grew up different. I grew up working my butt off on the farm. Like, you don't get a chance to quit. You lift that one more time. You go one more minute, and you wear yourself out. And it gives me that core strength that lifting weights can never give a person. Most girls that I get a hold of, I just toy with, bigger or littler than me. It doesn't matter. So I'm ready to go in there and just win this wherever it goes. I'd rather end it fast, but if she wants to play the point game and we end up, dancing back and forth, that's fine too. We'll see what happens.
You kind of have a similar background to Matt Hughes. Everybody talked about how he grew up on a farm and how strong he was in the cage. And he kind of refers to that working on the farm did help him become so strong.
Right. I've heard that before. A lot of people, even in other interviews, have called me the mini Matt Hughes afterwards. That's kind of funny.
That's not a bad comparison.
Oh, I like him pretty well.
Have you been focusing on anything else, or is it mostly your striking during this camp?
No, I focus on everything. I've been focusing on my clinch work a ton. Gotten to where I can just get out of clinch, also to where I can facilitate clinch just as well. Been working on my striking in orthodox and unorthodox positions, and then also the ground game. I never really stopped practicing any of it. I try to focus on my own strengths, but also build up my weaknesses as I go.
Are you expecting a 15-minute barn burner in this fight, or are you looking to get in there and finish it quick like your first 2 fights?
I'd rather finish it quick. I'm going to go in there and do whatever I can to stop the fight, but if it goes 15 minutes, I'm prepared for that as well.
If people have been watching you, they know that you are one of the brightest prospects in the flyweight division, and 3 letters come into mind: UFC. Is that in your future? Do you look at, being in the UFC maybe by the end of the year or beginning of next year?
I want it to be. As soon as they'll pick me up, I want to, because I just want to get to the top of the ladder as soon as I can, basically. I've been working my butt off to get there. I don't see how I could work much harder. So if anybody has a future, I feel like I can. And I would have loved to be on the last Tough show that they had. I'd love to try out for their 125-pound division. And the funny thing is that I was too young to do it. And part of me was like, I was too young to get in, but I'm ready.
All right, Miranda Maverick, you can catch her at Invicta FC 30, July 21st versus Brogan Sanchez. Thank you for your time, Miranda, and good luck on your fight.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. See you guys there.